Harmony along with my co-host Bob Wisher, and we are going to be diving into polarity today. And polarity as far as how you learn it, how you come back to it, and how you lost it. So, how are you doing today, Bob?
Doing great. Excited to dive into this polarity since we talked about it last episode as well. Kind of near the end, we teed it up, and I'm excited to dive into it and explain what this is really all about. So let's
Yeah.
get in.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch last week's episode, it was on purpose, but there was a really good piece about the polarity episode that, I'll invite you to go back and listen to that one as well.
Yeah.
But on to this episode. So let's just start by kind of doing a little bit of education on polarity and, what the female and masculine traits are and, how you can really achieve polarity by just bringing awareness to and healing those wounds that have shifted you out of your true core energy, right? To begin with. But let's just go ahead and start by kind of defining polarity and listing the 7 traits for both the masculine and feminine. So the masculine is the stability in all of us. And also, let me just go back. It's important to mention that we all carry both masculine and feminine energy, and we lead from one predominantly, or at least we try to. So the masculine traits is the stability in all of us, the ability to make those decisions, being decisive, being focused, focused on our goals, focused on tasks at hand, focused on just our life purpose, being logical, when it comes to that, those types of things, being clear, having that clarity on our goals, having clarity, within relationships, being assertive, as a man, as a true masculine man, being assertive with when you're trying to pursue something, and then being goal driven, waking up and having those goals. Again, all men and women have masculine and feminine energy. And then the feminine is, having that intuitiveness, that intuition, that gut instinct that people talk about, really following, that gut instinct. And then being generous, being giving, without expectation, nurturing. If you have children, are you able to nurture them through their wounds? Are you able to nurture them through when they get sick? And then the creative part of us, whether that be in an art way or just creating a relationship or creating a goal or creating something within your home, that's part of the feminine energy. And then the big one is reception. People need to learn how to be in receivership. We do these energy clearing exercises at the end of every episode, and that is really tapping into the receivership as the man, being able to oscillate between the male and the feminine, the masculine and the feminine energy. And then gratitude, having gratitude again for this energy clearing that you're receiving, having gratitude for just waking up, having your creator tap you on the shoulder. That's a huge thing to be grateful for these days, because not a lot of people get that, have that option right now. And then the collaboration, that's something that Bob and I are doing. We're having this collaboration between the two of us, and being able to, he being able to collaborate with me and me being able to collaborate with him. It's really bringing out those healthy masculine and feminine energies within both of us. So those are the traits of the masculine and the feminine. And then I just want to kind of go into, actually, let me throw it back to you, Bob. What do you think about those 7 traits? Like, how do you feel like you're embodying those in your own life?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting to see them written out, because it's been, we hear them and we understand them a little bit, but to actually hear them all listed at one time is interesting, because you kind of forget. I mean, you mentioned
Mm.
creative. I think I'm a semi-creative person, but what I didn't realize is that when I am being creative, I'm using my feminine energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is kind of over the head of most people because you don't really think about it. But, obviously the masculine traits, stable, decisive, focused, logical, clear, assertive, goal driven.
Mhm.
I understand all those very well. But then
Mhm.
when I think about the feminine traits, intuitive. Intuitive is something I've been learning and growing in over the last few years since I started my personal development journey. Same
Mhm.
thing with generous. Nurturing, I guess I go back to when my kids were little, so I've always kind of been working that. But like I said, creative, another one. I never, I think I mentioned this last episode. I spent years between graduating from college and my late 40s of just being a consumer of things that weren't helpful to me. And part of that was I was also not being creative. I
Yeah.
wasn't using any of those things that those gifts and skills that I had to be creative. And then gratefulness again, another one like intuitive and generous. I just found that a few years ago and understand that being grateful, I mean, to me, being grateful every day, writing down a couple things I'm grateful for every day has changed my life. I mean,
Yeah.
in and around all the other things I've ever done in a personal development space, that is the number one thing for me. That and I reinforce this in my men's group. Actually, we have um, we use a chat app that has when we within that app we have different um, I'll call them channels for lack of a better term. And one of them is the gratefulness channel, where
Mhm.
every day men will go into that subgroup and list what they're grateful for that day. And we've started this practice where there's 7, 8, 9 men going into
Mhm.
this chat group and telling each other what we're grateful for.
Yeah.
It's just again we talked about neural pathways in the previous episode. It's building those neural pathways of gratefulness and being able to see the good things that are going on around us and in our lives, that it just brings more, and it
Yeah.
it it squashes all that negativity. When you're
Mhm.
thinking positive and you're being grateful, it squashes all those negative thoughts and all those things that bring us down. So who's not to win in that scenario? So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to be able to understand these and which ones are feminine and masculine. Because like we talked about at the end of that last episode too, there's things that when you're being too much into your feminine, it can be a problem for a man. When you're being too much into your masculine, it can be a problem for a woman, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to get through the rest of this. Let's go.
Yeah. And, talking about the gratitude, the universe, God, whatever higher power you want to connect with, is not going to bring you anything else if you're not grateful for what you already have.
Mhm.
It's going to think your cup is already full. It's not that you're not, it's not that the universe and God is saying, oh, you don't deserve anything else. It's that they feel your cup is full because you're not, you're not showing gratitude, for whatever you have. So
I
you,
have never heard that spoken about in that way before. That
yeah,
Oh, that's huge.
yeah. Yeah. And if they think that your cup is full, then they're not going to bring you anything else. So yeah, you gotta show gratitude for what you have to make that space for more to come in.
Nice.
Um, so one thing that I just want to shift onto this because this was funny to me and it got a lot of backlash. But so porn is a big topic amongst the men right now.
Mhm.
Pornhub, and I mean, I could go into all kinds of different things as far as why I think that porn is being so marketed so much out there, creating that division, creating that weakness in the men. But so I'm just going to read this post that I found. I was fed to by another Facebook group. And this is in quotes: men watch porn to feel the polarity they lack in their relationship. Women can, and can was in all caps, shift this by becoming feminine. Okay, so here is my take on that. First of all, you can be all the feminine that you want to, and that is not going to shift a man out of watching porn. That is a choice that the man is making to watch that porn. And it is creating, instead of it making him feel more masculine, it's actually weakening himself. And let me just dive in, let me go a little bit deeper with that. When you ejaculate as a man, and I'm not the only one that's saying this, you can find this all over social media.
Mm-hmm.
But when you ejaculate as a man, it weakens you. It weakens your life force energy. So that's like the opposite of being masculine, right? So when you're draining your life force energy as a masculine man by watching porn all of the time, then the feminine is not going to help you become more masculine. It's going Being feminine is not going to make you more attractive to a man that sees porn as being that outlet. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. Help me out here, Bob.
Yeah,
Do
no,
you,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've since I've heard that. I never, obviously never aware of it in my past, but since I've heard of that, I've noticed, whether by myself or with my partner, that action is draining. And
yeah,
I think you and I talked about it the other day. You just want to go to sleep. Most men
yeah,
just want to go to sleep after that, right? So what's a better indicator of losing your power than the need to fall asleep?
yeah,
The need to rest
yeah, yeah.
after that.
And I've definitely had sexual partners that roll over after they
Yeah,
ejaculate and fall asleep. It's the running joke amongst, the men and the women.
right.
Um, but that's, watching porn, everybody's like, oh, well, porn is, it's fine. Well, but when you're watching certain types of porn, and I'm not a big porn watcher, so I can't speak too much into this, but when you're watching porn, first of all, it's not reality at all. And so it's distorting the men's vision of what
Yeah,
lovemaking actually is. And then second of all, um, some porn, I'm not saying all porn, is kind of demeaning towards women and can be masochist
you said it right.
towards women as well. And to quote the late John Bradshaw, and I've really dove into his teachings lately, but specifically from Homecoming, Reclaiming the Inner Child, his book, is that when the mom is carrying unresolved sexualized rage, and that could be from rape or incest, then she may, I'm not saying in all cases, but she may carry that through to her bonded son, where he is questioning his own masculine energy. He's questioning it. And so he's acting that pain in because the mom hasn't resolved those issues, hasn't let go of that trauma, resolve that trauma. And it just carries on to her son. And so he can act in the pain through watching porn, through choosing women who demean him, and or choosing women that he has these sadomasochist fantasies about, right? So, and that's covering kind of both sides of the porn industry, of the categories of porn. So, what do you think about that, Bob?
Yeah, it was revelation, because I never think about. I mean, you hear about women who have had rape or incest in their past histories, and you never, you think about their own well-being at that moment, but you don't think about the transference to a son, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it could probably, same thing could happen to a daughter, right? um
Yeah.
and the things that you're generationally going to keep putting out there, and we
Mm-hmm.
wonder why we're all still spinning and can't find our footing in life, because all these
Yeah.
things have happened. And I was listening to something today. I might have been actually, it might have been in one of the Bradshaw videos, talking about how going way back in history, can happen way back generations before, and they continue to carry into our lives today. You know, what's the example? I was thinking of something that specifically, just the fact that, you know, back years and years ago, it was okay for a man to hit his children.
Mm-hmm.
And that, we talked about big T and little T traumas that depending on the
Mm-hmm.
child that and what a meaning they made of it could be a big T or a little T at that point. And
Yeah.
then will carry through their children and that will carry through their children. And even though you may resist it or try to do the opposite, like in my case, there's a lot of alcoholism in my family. And
Mm-hmm.
so my mission was always, I'm not going to do that. So,
Yeah.
but that creates its own stigmas and stresses and everything else as well. So regardless of if I carried that same wound, I'm still, having those feelings and making those meanings and then passing that on to my kids. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And John Bradshaw actually speaks into that. He says 180 degrees of wrong is still wrong.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so going back to the post, knowing what we know about what can happen to create this behavior of porn watching, because it is a behavior. This is not because the woman is not in her feminine. This is a choice that the man is making. So a woman being feminine is not going to magically shift him into his healthy masculine, shift him away from the porn. So that's where I was finding, not grief, but just like, I don't know, disbelievement is what I was experiencing. I was like, how can this person say this? And he's a polarity coach. And I was just like, okay, yeah, no, that doesn't have anything to do with shifting you out of from having that unhealthy behavior. That's too much accountability to put on a woman to be in her feminine. Like, so yeah, anyway. Um, and that brings me to, again, the core wound. What is it that is creating the the need of the satiating of the porn? Like, what is it that the man is missing in his life that he's needing to fill himself up with the porn? What is it that's keeping him from having that meaningful connection with his partner? And if he's not in a partnership, what is it that's keeping him from mastering himself, creating that self mastery of not needing to ejaculate, not needing to drain his life force energy, which kind of leads me into, unless you'd like to comment on that. Nope. All right.
Keep going.
So what I want to focus on now is a little bit about how men can show up with their wounded masculine. And a lot of the common examples and a lot of the common ways is that they show up not being able to connect, not being able to connect to men and not being able to connect to women, not being able to connect to men in a supportive way, like in the brotherhood. This is something that I speak into quite often, is that there's the lack of brotherhood connection out there. I did a post a couple of weeks ago that created a huge stir, and that's actually what sent me to my alumni page, and how Bob and I connected in the first place was that I trigger men. Hi, my name is Nicole and I trigger men. And that post blew up, and there was a lot of men on there calling other men weak. That's not the brotherhood that we need right now, guys. We need support. Even if that's what you feel in your head, and if that is the way that you feel in your head, then there's something going on internally that we need, not you, not necessarily you and I, but that you need to figure out, that's reflecting back to you that you see a weakness within yourself. So avoiding connection, being cold and distant. If you're having trouble connecting in a relationship, if you're keeping your partner at bay, then that's coming from a wounded masculine space. If you have a deep sense of shame and insecurity, and this is like a deep rooted sense of shame and insecurity, then that's showing up, with your wounded masculine. If you have an unhealed relationship with your own father, then that is going to you're going to show up with wounded masculine energy. Excuse me. If you're a workaholic, if all you have is work in your life and you don't have any space for going to the gym, for enjoying your life, or vacations, for family, for reading scripture, if you know that is who you connect to, any kind of self-development. I constantly get men on the phone saying, oh, I want to work with you, but I don't have time. We make time for the things that are important to us in life, right, guys? I mean, I think that we all can agree on that. And then the last one is, and not the last one, it's the last one on my list, is if you're more focused on material things as a form of success. There's so many men out there that think that what they can buy the woman, where they can take them on vacation, what size of house they can buy them, what kind of car they're driving, what kind of clothes they're wearing is what's going to impress a woman. And I'm here to tell you that is not true, at least from a woman in her healing. If the woman is in her healing or she is really embodying her true feminine core energy, she will not give a crap about any of that stuff. What she wants to see from you is that you're fulfilling your purpose and you're chasing it every day, that you are stable within yourself and you stand in integrity with your core values and your core beliefs, and that you are open and willing to continue to do the expansion on yourself, do the self-development on yourself, and willing to go to that vulnerable place in order to access those emotions. That is what women care about. We do not care about if we live in a shack and drive a clunker, as long as it gets us from A to B.
Mm.
So that's how, men operate from their wounded masculine. Do you have any feedback for that, Bob?
Yeah, for sure. Just so to cite some of my personal examples from that list. I avoided connection with men pretty much my whole life. We one of the things I attributed to that was we're always kind of in competition, right? Whether it's growing up from t-ball through varsity baseball or football or basketball, whatever, some type of sport, we're always competing with each other. Then we get to that ripe age, 12, 13 years old, and we realize girls are a thing, and now we're competing for girls. And then we go to college and we're competing for careers, and we're competing. And that has always driven a wedge between me and other men, because I'm always looking at him as, how do I beat him? Not
competition. Yeah.
How do I serve him? Right.
Yeah.
That, and then that makes you insecure. You're afraid to put yourself out there. You're afraid to be vulnerable with men or women at that point. The other big one is taking things personally. I mean, I always took things personally. Everything was people didn't like me because of, I looked funny, or I didn't wear the right clothes, or I didn't have the right shoes, or whatever it was. And that's one of the things that we teach in Men Becoming Better Men, that as one of our standards is don't take things personally. And that's huge. And I repeat it all the time, because our knee-jerk reaction for everything as men is to take it personally.
Yeah.
And men will challenge me on that. I remember challenging my mentor on that. Oh, no, I'm not taking this personally. And the fact that I'm yelling at you, telling you I'm not taking it personally, means I'm taking it personally. And he's looking at me laughing. And I'm like, no, but I'm not taking it personally. It's just, you want to smack your own self in the head because you're doing it. You can't control it.
Yeah.
Of course.
What do we call that in the coaching? What do we call that in the coaching world? Starts with the T.
You lost me.
Trigger.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was a workaholic. Felt like I needed to prove myself to everyone around me that I was worthy and I was smart and I was, could be a success. And then focusing on material things. I'll say dumbest thing I ever did was I bought my ex-wife a really big house in hopes that it would make her happy.
Mm, mm,
It didn't work
yeah,
because that
yeah,
wasn't what she needed.
yeah. Yeah, it's, happy wife, happy life. No, happy husband, happy wife. Happy partner, happy partner. Like
Yeah.
find your own happiness within you. Don't try to buy the happiness. Don't
Mhm.
try to get all of these things and consume more in order to be happy. Find it within yourself first and then be able to share it. You know, um, I was watching a video yesterday and they were saying how the heart it like protrudes out, radiates out this vibration that's like 2 to 3 feet in front of you. And so everybody's walking around with this vibration. And, if you're a woman, then you're sending off like these little butterflies. But by the time it gets through all of these layers of bricks and built in beliefs and walls and things like that, it's not the butterfly anymore. It's like a dark, dark thing that goes into other people. Yeah, it's really incredible. But
Interesting visualization. Starts off so
yeah,
beautiful and then it just bleh, comes out as
yeah,
goo or something.
because you're having to go through all of these barriers, all these walls, all these blocks and things, and it just keeps running into it. It's trying to get out. It's trying to penetrate the world, but you haven't done the work. You haven't done the self development. You haven't removed those walls, those blocks, those patterns, those unhealthy behaviors, and yeah. So the
And
heart,
obviously same goes for men, right?
yeah. Oh yeah,
We're building walls from day one. Like I said, it's competition and everything else.
yeah,
Walls, masks.
yeah.
We wear masks,
Masks.
all
Oh
that.
yeah,
It's yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's not just women. It's not just men. We all wear masks. And
Mhm.
I mean, good grief, with the dating apps, you're all wearing masks in the beginning. Nobody's letting people know. I'm not on the dating apps, but people don't present themselves in the beginning, not necessarily on the dating apps. They have these avatars, they have these bios that they've created. They're not meeting in person, they're not exchanging the energy. And so that's a mask, that we're wearing. We're wearing masks when we're on social media. I mean, I get men all the time that are just mean and cruel on my social media, and I realize that that's their avatar, that's their mask that they're hiding behind, and it's okay, but start to do the development, start to break down the mask, and again find that happiness in yourself. um, so some other ways are ways that men can show up with their wounded feminine energy is like were talking about, not being able to be vulnerable. And that's a big one with the men. Men look at vulnerability as being a weakness. And the men that are in their healing and they are out there supporting and speaking this message, men who are in their healing are able to be vulnerable. They see that as a strength. They see that as being confident in themselves as a man, as a masculine man, being able to show those emotions. And they, and another way is, when you don't have any space in your life for self development, for your family, you fill it up with so much of stuff that you can't feel anything. You're
Mhm.
numbing your emotions, going back to the vulnerability. You're numbing those emotions that want to so much be seen, heard, and validated. Um, Another way is if you have an unhealed relationship with your mom or your female primary caregiver. You feel unsafe when it comes to sensuality and intimacy. If you are not able to connect in the bedroom with your partner, if you're not able to look at your partner's face when you're making love to them, then that's coming from a wounded feminine space. Most likely, some sort of distortion that you experienced during childhood. Um, if you resist the idea of feminine energy, if you think that feminine is looked at as weakness and you can't even recognize and validate the fact that you do have feminine energy, no matter what, it may not be in the healthiest manner right now, in the healthiest state, that you do have that feminine energy. You're just suppressing it and blocking it away. And then the last one is if you have difficulty setting healthy boundaries. And that's not just healthy boundaries with others, that's healthy boundaries with yourself, because it always starts with yourself. So let's, an example, if you just say yes to everybody and then you don't follow through because you just say yes just to get them off of your back. You know, you say yes to a vacation, but then you don't follow through in the end. That's not setting a healthy boundary for yourself. If you truly don't want to go on that trip, then say so and be okay with saying no. Getting used to saying no is a way to start creating a healthy boundary.
Absolutely. And that's a big one I've noticed too. Is men will always say, yeah, hey, let's go get a beer. Oh yeah, we need to do that. And then the conversation of the text ends there, and nobody takes the initiative to say, okay, well, Thursday at 7 o'clock at such and such.
Yeah.
When we don't follow through with that, that's
Yeah.
we're living in that weakness. And
Yeah.
instead of being assertive and aggressive and the things that are, make men and put it out there. Hey, we want to go over to beer for Thursday at 7 o'clock at such and such. We're going. Here we go. If that's not good, we'll go next Tuesday, whatever.
Yeah.
Putting those things in place and following through makes a huge difference. The other one, I admit, I was
actually let
I
me
was that guy.
can I speak into that really fast before I forget. So that's a really good point as far as especially if you're in the dating world, there is nothing that will turn a woman off more when she is communicating with a man and he's like, oh, well, what do you want to do and when are you free? No, do not do that. Say, make your intention clear. I want to get to know you better. What is your phone number? I want to call you up, get to know you better, and I want to take you out on a date. Are you available on Friday to go at 7 p.m. to here? And if you can go and pick her up, that is even a bigger bonus, and opening the door. Being those strong masculine figures, even if you are in a relationship and or married for 25 years, do the same thing with your wife.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than having to make those little decisions. As much if men could see the amount of tabs that are open in the woman's mind at all times. I understand that the way that the mind works with a man is that they have a box and they open that box and they take everything out of the box that they need to for that thought. And then before they move on to something else, they close that box up and they move it aside. Women don't do that. We have like 150 boxes open at the same time and we pull from all of our different little boxes. And I'm pretty sure there's a video on this from like 15 years ago. But we have so many decisions and we have so many boxes and so many tabs open. If you can take that one decision away from us of where we want to go eat, oh my God, you have no idea how much that means to a woman, or at least a woman in her healing, a woman that's in her feminine. Now, a woman in her masculine is going to push back on you, but that shows that she's in her masculine. And how do you push forward and be in your masculine and still allow her to be in her feminine and not make her feel threatened? Having that dialogue. Hey, I see that you're trying to make this decision. I would love to take this off your plate. How do you feel about that? Do you feel safe with me doing that? Women want to feel safe. We want to feel supported. We want to feel like there's stability there. So yeah, I just went off on a tangent.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to say, I admit to the other part of it too, is the resisting of the feminine energy. And that I again, I don't know where that came from. Obviously there's something in my past, but letting it consume my urges instead of gaining it for energy, the energy that it brings it's made a lot of difference. And that's why I think, as I said in the last, or when we go to, it was our first episode, to give what Nicole and I are talking about a chance through this process, because it is, we are going to have resistance as men. We're going to resist this thought because we have those wounds. It's not because we know any better. It's not because it's a fact of nature. the fact of nature is that there's male and female energy. There's
Mm-hmm.
yin and yang. There's light. There's dark. There's everything is
Mm-hmm.
equal in the world, and that energy thing is no different. And the more we resist it, the more we're going to struggle. It's like it's pushing the boulder up the hill. You're
Yeah.
never going to get it there because there's just the force of energy of the universe is pushing you down.
Yeah.
And you're never, so the faster you are able to let go of the resistance to it and lean into it, the less resistance you're going to get and the farther you're going to get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I come up against with the men is, they are in resistance because the work that I do with the men does take that level of vulnerability in order to access those emotions. We're not going to get anywhere in our work together, or you're not going to get anywhere in your self-development work if you stay in that stoic place. You have to be able to access those emotions. You have to be able to access that vulnerable space, those shadows. That's kind of going into our next episode on shame. Shame is just another name of the shadow that we all live with. We have to have that duality. We have to have that lightness in order to have the darkness. And that is what, one of our shadows is shame. But yeah, so how can men show up in their healthy masculine energy? Again, not having the fear of being shamed, judged, and criticized for accessing your emotions, for being vulnerable, being able to say that I am vulnerable and I know in my heart that I am still a confident man. That it takes confidence, it takes strength to show the vulnerability and to, again, set those healthy boundaries for yourself. A great example is if you want to start working out, but your wife is starting to create resistance because she sees you as going away as not being that safe and supportive role, in the relationship because it is something different. Having that dialogue and setting that healthy boundary, saying, I want to do this for us. I want to do this for our family. I want to do this for our relationship because it's going to make me feel better about myself. And when I feel better about myself, then I can be the leader that you're wanting me to be. But having that dialogue, and again, that goes back to the emotional vulnerability, being able to have that conversation with your wife, with your partner, is going to have that level of accessing those vulnerable emotions. And then finding happiness within yourself. These are all tying together, man. I mean, this is all coming together, and not in sex, not in alcohol, not in gambling. Name these addictions, not in food. I mean, food is a huge addiction. People think that if you're eating something and it's making you feel good and you're not eating to nourish your body, you're not eating with intention, then there's a problem. There's something that is missing within your life that you're trying to fill it up with this food, with the alcohol, with the excessive vacations, with just material things, a car, a boat, a house. I mean, you name it. And then also leaving space in your life for things other than just work. Being able to set that healthy boundary, being able to walk away. I was dating somebody who he could never get enough of his job. And I'm like, it's going to be there tomorrow. Where is it that you feel that the world is going to come crashing down if you don't have this proposal done? Like, we're not curing cancer here. So making space in your life, and when you're pouring into your work too much, then there's something missing within inside of you. And then that's when it needs to be addressed. And then being nurturing and giving without expectations. There's so many transactional relationships out there where if I do this for you, you're going to do this for me, and vice versa. Really giving and being nurturing and loving without expectation is really coming from that true grounded masculine core energy. A man in his healing is going to be able to do this. And being confident, again, confidence with being vulnerable, confidence in who you are as a man, and being able to walk around and being like, yeah, I'm in my healing. You're not. What's wrong with not that what's wrong with you because that's shaming and judging, but yeah, I'm in my healing. What do you say of it? Kind of thing. Like, come and try to challenge me, dude, because I'm in my healing. I got all kinds of tools in my little tool belt, but not in an arrogant way, just being confident. And then again, self mastery. There are a lot of men in their healing that are celibate. And I know that that's like, woo, and scary. And if you're going to go sit with Mother Ayahuasca, you have to become celibate for at least 2 weeks before you go into ceremony. And that's starting to create that self mastery, creating that control of your emotions and your urges and things like that.
Nice. So yeah, that's a great list. And just some to highlight some of my personal gains through living into that, and being vulnerable for first and foremost, setting boundaries, practicing self-love and happiness. That's actually one of the things I work when I'm coaching men. We work on self-love right out of the gate, because that's so important to understand what that means, and again, lean into that feminine energy of love and self-love, and understand what that means and does for a man. That it's super powerful. I've become a personal growth and health junkie. To be able to tell men that I love them when I truly do. I mean, it's taken a little bit of practice. It's taken a lot of doing it and getting positive responses back from it. But it's something that I do now just because I truly do. And then the last one, and you mentioned it in your notes. I don't know if you mentioned it here, but but we talked about it at some point, is the weakness that ejaculation creates.
Yeah.
And realizing that if I have something big going on that day, or any time in the near time frame of either an ejaculation by yourself or with a partner, to not do that at that point in time, because it is weakening. And being able to understand that, and saving that energy for this, whether it's a big presentation at work, or for me having a session with a client, or recording this podcast, or whatever the case may be, saving that energy and using it to put the good out into the world, instead of depleting myself before I jump into something like that has that potential and that opportunity. It's just, to be conscious of that is hugely powerful.
Well, and being conscious of the fact that, so many people are using each other as masturbation tools. They're not really connecting. They're not getting that intimacy. They're not, connecting eyes and looking into the soul, and not, just ejaculating for ejaculating on men and women's parts too, because obviously, women can ejaculate as well. We don't necessarily drain our life force energy. It's actually sometimes the opposite, but but yeah, really, again, that self mastery and that self control of saving it for when it's going to be meaningful, and not just because, oh, we have to have sex because the kids are going to be up and we want to fall into that category of having sex. No, I mean, you've got to really come into that self mastery. And if that is something that you're wanting to adopt, have that conversation with your wife, because the slightest change of pattern will send her into complete outer space orbit, whatever, and think that something's wrong with the relationship. So if that is something that you want to practice, then have that conversation with your wife. I'm just going to invite you to do that. So that's all I have with polarity right now. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, actually, it's been awesome. I think we've hit a lot of good points here, and I know we want to jump into the energy clearing to wrap this episode up. And So why don't you bring it home?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for teeing that up. Um, so let's just go ahead and start by focusing on your breath.
Sorry, I needed a drink there. Got some breathing to do here. I gotta have to keep my throat. I recommend that to any men that's going through this. You get wet your whistle here real quick before we do this.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. You can go ahead and hit pause, and please don't do this while you're driving.
Yeah, definitely.
A good thing to note. Okay, so go ahead and start by focusing on your breath. Allow your breath to just become normal in and out, almost like the waves hitting the shore. And close your eyes if you already have not done that, if you feel comfortable. Let's go ahead and have your palms facing up so you're open and ready to receive. And I'm going to have you take a deep breath in and hold it. I'm going to give you a phrase to repeat silently in your head, and then you're going to exhale it out. And here we go. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all fear with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all shame with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all judgment with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all anger with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all stress with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with belief with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with gratitude with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with hope with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with support with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with safe with it's not safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all fear with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all shame with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all judgment with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all anger with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all stress with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with belief with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all gratitude with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with gratitude with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with hope with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with support with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with safe with my boundaries are not recognized. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all fear with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all shame with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all judgment with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all anger with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all stress with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with belief with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with gratitude with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with hope with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with support with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I release all blocks with safe, with I hide behind my work. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I am so happy and grateful. It is safe for me to be vulnerable. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I am so happy and grateful that I know my boundaries are honored. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I am so happy and grateful. I am more than my career. Good. Take a deep breath in and hold it. I am so happy and grateful that I am open to receiving better than I can imagine in all areas of my life. Good. Take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. Go ahead and start to come back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And open up your eyes when you feel comfortable.
Powerful stuff.
Do you feel anything came up for you? Do you feel comfortable sharing?
Just the again, just the releasing of those the words in the kind of the constant barrage of the words and the negativity and then circling back to the positivity of it and just really feels like the negative releases.
Yeah.
And then again, like I said last episode, the 4 statements at the end are just so powerful in releasing all of that. And it's gonna be. I noticed after the very first time we did this, and then the subsequent times, that every time it just seems to get more and more powerful. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes in the days and weeks ahead as we go through this to put this out here. And what comes up the most for me right now is I'd love to hear, now that we're 3 sessions into this podcast and doing this energy clearing, I'd love to hear what some of your feedback is from the men or women listening. Love to hear what this is doing for you, what it's releasing for you, because that, to me, the one of the biggest thing of doing this podcast for a couple of years now that I've been doing it is hearing the feedback, and I've been flowed with my energy and ability to do this over time, and it's because I rarely get feedback, and because of the way we're doing this now with Nicole and what she's bringing to the table, I really want to encourage you, even if it's just dropping us an email to letting us know what's coming up for you in these energy clearing sessions. I mean, if it's nothing, great, let us know. But if it's something, we'd love to celebrate that with you. And hear what's going on. And at some point here in the near future, we're going to be looking for people to come on the show here and talk to us about what they're doing and and how they're growing and what's coming up for them. We'd love, if that interests you at all, again, reach out on that point as well too, and we'll have that discussion, because the more our goal is simply to help men. It's right there. I can't get a go be better. We've talked about how the gap is widening between men and women. It's because women are doing the work and the men are sitting still. So, needless to say, they've definitely passed us at this point. And if we don't start following and trying to catch up, I can't think of what the world would be like in a few generations when there's just this massive divide between men and women.
Yeah.
And no one will win. No one
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. We're fighting a losing battle at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Until we can become unified
Yeah.
again. Divided we fall, united we stand, divided we fall.
And not only men and women,
Yeah.
racially as well. We're doing the same thing. Where there's as the gap grows between men and women, the gap grows between white, black, Hispanic, Asian,
Yep.
all of it.
Yep.
And
Political parties.
yeah, exactly. You name it. We're driving each other farther apart when we should be bringing
Yeah.
each other back together and doing things like personal development in a
Mm-hmm.
serious level, not
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, I got a meditation streak and I'm reading some self-help books. I mean, that's a great start, but
Mm-hmm.
there's much more depth to this. Like we've talked about, Nicole and I have been doing this for years, and we're still learning. I learned stuff from this episode with Nicole presenting it the way she did. So it's we, going deeper is the
Mm-hmm.
way to go. So
Yeah. Yeah, really going back to that childhood, between the ages of 0 and 18 years old, you have no idea the beliefs that were imprinted onto you until you start uncovering those layers. You start pulling back those layers of that onion, and you're going to find stuff that you have been suppressing and shaming. The shadow going into the next episode, shame is going to be the topic, and shame is our shadow. What we shame, we judge, we criticize, and we suppress, that is our shadow, but it is a part of us. It just wants to be recognized. It just wants to brought awareness to, and it just wants to be seen, heard, and validated.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this third episode of the Men Becoming Better Men podcast. Again, like, follow, subscribe, all those things that we do on the apps.
Yeah.
Follow us, whatever, help us grow this podcast. Because if you've been here for the 3 episodes since the reboot, I'm hoping you're feeling the power, hoping you're wanting to serve and share this with other people. Please help us, help you, help them.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
And you can find us on YouTube too. We'll be, our video is on YouTube, so you can subscribe to that, and then you can also leave comments on the YouTube video as well.
Men Becoming Better Men channel on YouTube. So we're the name is always the same wherever you go. the website, email at gmail.com, the YouTube, and Nicole and I both have TikToks out there as well, where we're going to be putting this stuff out. So we'd love the exposure. Again, we'd love to help other people hear our message and grow with us. So
Yeah.
and so until next time, we're going to talk about shame.
Yeah.
We will see you in our